me. This is really the first time I'm doing this. My name is Rinat, and a lot of my students like to ask me a lot of questions with regards to finance, investment, entrepreneurship. So we decided to make this live stream to answer all of your questions. Let me talk about myself a little bit. So my name is Rinat, and my surname is Farukshin. I was born in Russia. I'm 38 years old, and I'm a software engineer by education, and for a while by profession I was mostly in IT. But these days I'm an educator, so I work at Pineapple College. That's what we decided to call it on live streams. But today I'm talking completely about myself and what I would like the younger generation to know about. So why am I doing this? And that's one of the questions that I get asked often. Because I remember the times when I was about your age, and I guess most of my viewers, according to the statistics, are 15 to 25 years old, and that's exactly who I'm targeting to reach. Because when I was your age, when I was in year 10, I was reading a lot of books and trying to learn everything about investment and how the money works, and reading about business, but I really didn't have anyone to guide me, to show me the way. And obviously my parents were just normal working people, hardworking people. My grandparents were the same, and all they ever told me was to study hard, get good grades, get a degree from university, and get a good job. So I believed them and I did my best. I finished high school with the highest possible distinction. In Russia it was a gold medal, so full A's, straight A's. And I actually had this somewhere recently, one of the students was asking, so I had it as I showed him a screenshot of my high school certificate, and it's all straight A's. Ananas College, yes, I like it. So the years went by. I was born in a very small town village, literally 30,000 people was the population, and I studied in a high school just like yourselves. It was a multicultural, multi-language independent school, so that's where I learned 4 languages. I speak English, Russian, Tatar, and Turkish languages. Then later in the university I learned a bit of German, but I don't really speak German that much. And getting that education, getting to know languages early, really helped me along the way. And when I was choosing what to do, I really wanted to do everything because all of my grades were good. I wanted to do economics, I wanted to do psychology, I wanted to do teaching, and I was so interested in IT, and I still am. I love technology, gadgets, and everyone used to call me Mr. Gadget. So yes, gold medal. But I had a very good advice from one of the professors, and it was a professor of psychology, because I asked, like, where do I go? How do I choose where to go for uni? And he said, look, if you go straight for subjects like economics or psychology or social subjects, you know, like humanities and stuff, it would be really hard to switch back to anything that is heavier on math or science. So he said, look, if you really want to do many things in life and reach many heights, he said, start with engineering, start with the most difficult one. And I appreciate his advice. I did as he said, so I joined one of the top Russian schools of engineering. I like to think of it as MIT of Russia, but it was the Bauman Moscow State Technical University, one of the top universities in Russia. I studied there for 6 years, but early on, when I was literally on the third year of my studies, I started working. So I started working at a school first because it was part-time and I could only work on evenings. My university was really difficult. The first 2 years I was literally studying full-time. We used to go to uni at 8:30 in the morning and come back around 4 or 5 p.m. And it was like a full-time job. Whereas my students my friends who did humanities, they studied for like, 2-3 days a week, and the rest was their library days, their self-study days and whatnot. So no, my university was really hard, really tough. We studied all kinds of math, 10 different types of math, and even physics, quantum physics, all of that stuff, electronics, hardcore engineering. And yeah, when I was on the third year of my studies, when university started a bit easing up on us, I went and started working. And I think that was a very good thing for me to do. And that, again, some of you are asking these questions all the time. Should I get a job? Should I go to uni? So I think it was good for me to start working, but I did not let go of my studies. I started at a school as again, I was just teaching electives, after school classes, mostly on computer engineering, programming, algorithms, technology. And I was also the IT technical specialist for the school, so setting up computers. The next year after that, I went to work for HP, Hewlett Packard, and that's where I was introduced to the corporate world for the first time. I was promoted quite quickly to project specialist, then senior specialist, so I was looking after the onboarding of new specialists and providing VIP support to all the executives, and again, thanks to my English. So in that sense, education, I believe, is really important, and it's important to know where that education can get you and what advantages you can get from that education. So the HP career was going well. 3.5 years I worked for Hewlett Packard Enterprise Services in Moscow back then, and I finished university also at the same time. It took me 6 years to get my degree. After that, there was a short work for Roche Pharmaceuticals, again doing the same IT, and then I was headhunted by Adobe. And this is something that I want to really highlight, because I did not apply for a job at Adobe. And Adobe is the company that does all of your Photoshops and Adobe Express, that kind of stuff. PDF is Adobe Reader, is all of that products. And what helped me to stand out was my social media profile. Did I pay for uni fees? Yes, I could not get the scholarship, so my mom had to pay. Hi, Said. My mom had to pay for my uni, and it was quite expensive at the time for the uni. So yeah. What helped me get into Adobe was my LinkedIn profile. And to this day, actually, let me even display it here. To this day, my LinkedIn profile is one of my probably biggest digital assets at the moment. No, Said, we're not going to read the book today. Today I'm just going to talk about clues to success, all the questions that you keep asking me. So LinkedIn is to this day my biggest asset, and that's why I think it's important that you start building your digital profile as soon as possible. That's exactly why I think it is important that we do something about the upcoming social media ban. So basically this page got me a job at Adobe. So I'm not sure if I have the LinkedIn as an app. Nope. Do I own investment properties? Yes, I own a few investment properties, but this page, this simple page, which shows all of my work experience and all of my projects, this got me into Adobe here, where I worked as IT client services technician. But then as I was working at do you reckon we should volunteer for school that will give us university offers? We're gonna get to volunteering, and I think it's important that you start building your profile. That's one of the things that will help you stand out, because in this day and age, it's not enough. Being just good is not enough. It used to be that if you are good at your school, good in your grades, you would get good results. But these days, I think to be good, you need to be outstanding, and that's a lot of what I'm going to be talking about. You need to be outstanding. So this outstanding profile helped me to get to Adobe. But what happened later was even more interesting, because at some point it became boring. When I was physically working at Adobe, and I was IT client services technician looking after 6 offices we had. So one in South Africa, one in Moscow, one in Turkey, one in UK, and I don't remember the exact locations now, but yeah, this is what I was doing at Adobe, as you can see on the screen. And it was a good income. It was a lot of learning. Most of my extra courses that I have done, I actually finished at Adobe. So if you look at my education, I'm studying for my 3rd degree now. So for all of those who say that uni is useless, I would say I've started my Flinders University Master of Education literally a couple months ago. So, hey Zahid. But most of my licenses and certifications, the good courses, I've done at Adobe. But then what happened was even more interesting, because it became boring after a while. This office life where you come to the office at 9 and you go back home at 5, and that's about all of your life, that became boring. And this is where I would like to talk about the Ikigai concept. This is something that I have explained to most of my students by now. So what is Ikigai? And I know you want the question about the money, but I'll literally put the money question right here on the bottom, right? And we'll get to it later. The moderators can't pin any comment for some reason. Did I miss any comments? Actually, Shubar, you know what you can do? Because I have this Twitch chat right here on my screen. You can copy the important ones to Twitch, all right, or YouTube, whichever one is easier for you. If I do miss any comments, just copy paste them there. Thank you very much. And then I will get to those questions. So, it's been hours. Yes, we are live on so many platforms. What age was my first investment? That's a good question. First, we need to understand what investment is, because investment. What is investment? That's a good question for the audience. What do you think is investment? And let me see if I have Grokipedia here, but I have Grok. Let me quickly start a Grokipedia page, and that's actually a resource that I can recommend to everyone. Ada, you are cheating because you've been to my classes. Yes? Twitch is Loomwise, I believe, and YouTube is just my name. Yes, Selim, I can see your comment from YouTube. I can see some of the Let's try this one, growth investing. Just put in the comments, what do you think investing is about? Putting money into a specific thing with the expectation of generating profit. Yeah, okay, good point. Yeah. Anybody else? Hello, Batman. Oh, Raihan, thank you for the heart. You've become the number 11 fan in the club. Nice. Putting amount of income on a product and returning something with way more. Yes, Ali, that's pretty much it. So investment is about having something that you input or invest, right? And then something happens. So there's different types of investment, but basically the idea is that you put money in, right? And then you expect to get growth out of it. And that's what investment is. So what is return on investment? ROI. Do you know what return on investment is? On YouTube, the layout is different because I'm using a different platform, I guess, for that. So on YouTube, the screen is bigger than on TikTok and mobile devices. So I have a different setup on there. So return on investment. Return on investment is exactly this, because you put some money down, right? Down payment, which is your money in, and then you get some profit out of that, right? So return on investment is basically the ratio of the input to the desired outcome. So for example, if you invest $100,000 into buying a house, right? And that 100K become 500. So what's your return on investment? How do we calculate that? You take your 500, divide by the initial investment, which is 100, and you get what? There we go. What is that? That is completely wrong. So 5x is your return on investment, right? Raihan, thank you for the gifts, man. Thank you very much. So 5x, or we can say 500%. And as an investor, you have basically two things that you care about. One, and rule number one of investing is, let me put it in red color and some bolder font. Number one rule of investing is don't lose money. But money is an interesting concept in itself. I'd say don't lose value, right? And number two, after you care about not losing money, you gotta maximize your return on investment. And when we talk about investment, how many different investment types do you know? Just put in the chat whatever you think you can invest in. Crypto, shares, property, business. What kind of investment types do you know? Raihan, you're spoiling us tonight. Thank you. Games. Oh, wow. Games, websites, cryptos, land. Raihan, what's happening? Thank you very much for the gifts, man. Selim, at your age, what you can do to get money is invest. And you'd be surprised. You would probably ask, what can I invest in? Thank you for the likes, guys. Could you invest in shops? Yes, of course. In what? That's exactly what we're getting to, Selim. What do you think you can invest in right now? Like, what would you like to invest in? Companies, estates. Yes, I can see Selim's comments. Yes. What can I do to get money? Affiliate marketing, social media management as a side hustle. Amazing. After learning the fundamentals of money, economy, and everything, how do you start investing? Good point. Allah has obviously been studying everything that I sent him. Saeed, oh my God. Thank you for all the gifts. Thank you, guys. So, we have counted a number of investments, right? But let me ask you one question. And I think there's only 3 students out of my students who know the answer. Tesla, like my idol. Yes, I do like Tesla. Actually, where's my Tesla toys? Not. They're on the other table. Anyways, there's one type of investment, and that's the question. What type of investment, right, takes little to no money? You only do it once, but it keeps compounding throughout your whole life until your last day. How am I at school? Because I have my setup here. So until I set up my home studio, I will be streaming from the school. Property. No, property takes a lot of time and a lot of money. Investment properties, they need some money. Oh, Allah. What did Allah say? How do they allow you in? I have the key. Yes, so think about it. Allah said education. Let's think about it. Can you say that education is an investment? What does it take to get education? And how is it an investment? We said that investment is when you input something, then time passes and then you get profit. Yes, education takes time. Very good. Takes time. What else? Determination. Good. These are all the things that it takes. You use your time to get knowledge. Yes. And then what are the possible outcomes? What do you get as a profit? Come on, I'll put it in a different color. Let's put the blue color. What do we get out of education? Value and knowledge. Good. Some of my students already know that I like the word value too much. What's the question? The question is, education, if we look at education as a type of investment, it takes time and determination to get education, but what do you get out as the profit? How do you profit from your education? Yeah, all of my students already say value. Use the terms that anybody would understand. Can we get money? Can we get recognition or some kind of, titles, job, position? Can you build a business with knowledge? Depends on what you're using the knowledge for, yes, but what are some things that you can get out of education? Can we invest in a school? Yes, you can. You can invest in a school. Now, the probably second question that I get, I get 3 questions many times. The first one is how to get rich. That's probably number 1. Second is how much money I have. And the third question is where to invest. So, and I always say to this third question, I always say, and I'll even put it in the chat here. And Chris, you wanted a phrase from me. That's completely my own phrase. If you don't know where to invest, that's the first thing that you need to invest in. And let me type it in the chat. If you don't know where to invest, that's the first thing that you need to invest in. And let me, I guess, actually, can I use text here? There we go. Because it will be much faster. If you don't know where to invest, that's the first thing you need to invest in. All right. Oh my God. I don't even know how to move this thing. Does it make sense? What do you understand when you hear that? Oh, thanks, Tajuddin, for putting it on the chat. Investing in a school, would it work? A school is a non-for-profit organization. Yeah, why not? One of the quickest ways to get rich is to start a non-profit. Move your camera to where? Ah, I have 2 cameras, I'm sorry. Actually, maybe we can do this. Because that camera is a bit high. Is that better? Can you lose money investing in properties like houses? Yes, you can always lose money with investing. That's why you need to be really sure where you're investing. TikTok, camera on TikTok. Ah, I can just move the thing. I can't really move the camera much. Yes, the fastest way, one of the fastest ways to get rich is starting a non-profit, but that's a more complicated issue. Price of houses almost always goes up. Yes, historically, real estate in Australia. What's happening to my pen? So, Australian real estate prices on average for the past, I think, 50 to 100 years have been consistently going up by 5 to 7% annually. And I think I did the spelling wrong, but anyways. Adelaide has one of the worst house prices. Guys, at the moment, especially at your age, I don't think you need to worry about real estate investment. So the original question that I'm still trying to answer is, when did you first start investing? And the funny thing is, and that's why I decided to take such a long time to explain this, I started investing when I was exactly your age? Where do you think I invested first? And that's the question, where to invest first? Education. You invest in crypto. There was no crypto back then when I was in year 10. How old was I? Oh my god. If I graduated in 2004, yeah, that was about 2002 and 3. Yourself. Yes. So, your education, or I'd actually say not just education, your, and that's a key word for me here, so let me put it in nice bold letters. And if you know what the word is, type it out. Mindset. Your mindset. What is your mindset? And why? How is it different than just education? Add value to yourself. Become valuable. Yes, these are all the answers of my students who already know where it's going. How do we even invest? As in, let me make it bold, let me make it, I guess, bold italic. There you go. I have no idea how to make it bigger. I'll make it bigger like this. If you don't know where to invest, that's the first thing you need to invest in. So, where do we even invest? If you are asking this question, that's what you need to invest in. You need to invest in your understanding of what investment is, how it works, what the money is, and why do I keep saying value instead of money? Those who are my students for this year, they would know that I always say add value. Yes, Selim, 6-7. Why do I keep saying add value? Because money, whatever we call money, is nothing but fiction. That's why when you say I want more money, money is credit. Yes, Raihan, very good. Some of you obviously have watched the videos that I have recommended. Value is something that you can understand, and value changes from person to person. And that's where I probably need to explain what value is, what money is, and what mindset is. Why is it important to have the mindset? We have about 15 minutes left, right? My goal to doing these live streams is to add value. And how do you understand the value? Let's give you a quick example. Let's say you have a coffee shop, right? So you run a coffee shop and you sell coffee to people. Now imagine this. As a coffee shop owner, how much do you think a cup of coffee is worth to you? You have a very expensive coffee machine, you pay people their wages, but let's say, imagine a typical Monday morning, right? 8:30 a.m. Some unfortunate employee, after a long and sleepless night, is going to the office. He didn't really sleep well, he's hungry, and he can barely open his eyes. And he's walking past a coffee shop. How valuable do you think that coffee cup would be to that kind of person? You are sleep deprived. It's a very uncomfortable situation for him. He needs to get to work. He needs to work for another 8 hours. Yes, you're right. That coffee cup will be very valuable. Now, the same coffee cup, the value of that same coffee cup to a coffee shop owner, is it really valuable? Like, would he mind if he had to make like 1 coffee, 2 coffees, 3 coffees? Not really, right? Yes. Yes, you're right, Ali. It would save that person's life, right? If you, for example, or think of it this way, if you go and buy a cup of coffee and you see that that guy really needs a cup of coffee right now and you give it to him, would he be like out of this world happy? Yes, that person that needs the coffee will value that coffee very much. So now look at the magic that's happening. We have value of a cup of coffee, and I can't even write. All right, I'm gonna try and draw a cup of coffee. So this is a cup of, what is it, this? All right, this is a cup of coffee, right? And here's the guy who is the coffee shop owner. What's the cost of that coffee cup to him? Let's say at the most estimate, with all the coffee beans and milk and whatnot, the value of that coffee to the coffee shop owner is $1. And if someone really asked him, he wouldn't mind giving a cup of coffee for free, right? But the guy who needs to go to work, who's the customer, who is sleep deprived, tired, hungry, whatever, to him the value of that coffee at even a $5 price is way bigger than the actual $5, right? Yes, it's $1 million. Right. So now this is exactly what's happening right now if you think about our situation. The value of advice that I'm providing to me is literally just my time, half an hour on a Saturday night, right? Or 1 hour. And the value to you might be way more, because if I had the same type of advice, I would be way ahead by now if I had a person like myself giving me this knowledge, because I had to read it from the books. I had to, go to places and pay a lot of money to get this knowledge. So this is the magic of value versus money. Money does not always reflect the value. The value is in the eyes of the beholder, and I'm sure you've heard that phrase. So let me put it here. Value is in the eyes of the beholder. And I mean, if you need another example from your family, if you have siblings and you have toys that you're always fighting about, and I have 3 boys, so ask me how I know. A certain toy would not be touched for a whole week and just lying in a bookcase, right? And then on one night, one of the kids would like to play with the toy. All of a sudden that toy becomes valuable, and because he's playing with it and he's having fun, the other 2 siblings, now they also want to play with the same toy, the exact toy that has not been in demand for a whole week, and now they start fighting over a toy. And see, this is where the value, the demand and supply. So in the economy class, and that's where Ali was asking if economics is hard, if you understand the basic thing of demand on the left and supply on the right. Demand is how many people want to have something, and supply is how many people give something. So in this situation, this guy, the shop owner, is supplying the coffee, and this guy, the customer, is demanding the coffee. So the higher the demand goes, higher the price goes. Supply is in the opposite direction. The lower the supply goes, the higher the price goes. Yes, if it's low demand and high supply, yes, the price goes down. If it's high demand and low supply, the price goes up. And this is instrumental, fundamental to economy, and this is also instrumental and fundamental to investment. Because if we go back to the very beginning of our conversation, what is investment? Where you put in something or you buy something for a certain price and then you sell it later for a profit. So what do you think would happen for your investment to be successful? For your investment to be successful, you gotta buy something that is in low demand, high supply, right? And then something happens and it becomes high demand, low supply, right? Can we invest on games that are on pre-order and then sell when it officially comes out? Could be a strategy, yes. Yes, things that are limited get sold out quickly. Yes, yes, yes. And the other day we were discussing, let me get my Teslas, by the way. Just give me a second. I'm an investor, right? And I'm 38 years old, but every time I go to a shop and I see one of these Hot Wheels Tesla cars, I buy them. Why? Because right now they might be anywhere between $2 and $5. But the time comes when they stop producing them, and I mean, I just love Teslas anyway. So at the moment they are in high supply and low demand. Not many people really care about Teslas in this day and age. So I buy them whenever I see them. I have so many at home. But the time will come when the supply will be low and the demand will be high. And the good thing about this type of things is they've got like series and whatnot. Even if they make thousands of these, they only make it once. Even if they later launch another one, it will be a different packaging, different series, whatever. But this is like limited supply. Once they get in low supply and high demand, then you can consider selling it. That's how most of the investment works. So let me give you an example. When I buy an investment property, I usually buy a house and land package. I buy unregistered land. Why? Because unregistered land is usually in high supply and low demand, because it's unregistered, because it takes long time, because it takes money, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And usually at that stage, the land, unregistered land, there's nothing around there. There's no shops, there's no schools, there's nothing. So that's how I did both of my investments. I bought unregistered land. You pay money, you wait, I have extra money, I don't mind. And then a year or two later, when the land becomes registered, all of a sudden it becomes in demand because now you can build on it. And they are in low supply too. But wait, there's more, because not only I just hold the land, I build a house on it. And while this whole thing happening, around that area, they start building shops, they start building schools, and people start moving in. And all of a sudden, they're in even higher demand and even lower supply, because by now most of them are sold. So that's how I made $300,000 on my first investment property in 2 years time. And the thing is, some of you ask, can you lose money on investment? Absolutely you can, because people buy properties all the time. Does everyone make money? No. So what makes my investment different? Cash flow. Yes, I got your question. I'll put it down here. I'll explain cash flow. My next session starts. Anyways, what was I saying? Yes, most people, when they want to invest, what do? They're like, oh, okay, let's invest in real estate. And what do? They go to realestate.com. What do I do? Because my profession is IT or education, teaching, and I'm a software engineering by education. Is real estate really my specialty? No. So what do? I find the best person that I can get to who knows real estate really well. I go to that person and I ask them, where should I buy investment property? And that person is called a property strategist. And I pay a lot of money to that property strategist. Is that something that every person normally does? And actually, I think Said was talking about it today. People don't normally do that. They always say, oh, why would I pay money to the agent or someone, because I can do it myself. So they think they know better than anyone. Said, and thank you for all the gifts. Thank you very much. Yes, we speak to Said quite a lot and he learns very well. So people say, no, I can save money, I can do it myself. I'm like, okay. So they end up buying a house somewhere in Melbourne and not gaining much money on it. What I do is I go to that property strategist and they analyze, and please pay attention to the screen. What they do is they analyze demand for that area, they analyze supply for the area, because if you didn't know, the councils, they have 50-year plans on where and what type of investment properties are going to be built. They know exactly. Spark Gaming, thank you for the gifts, thank you guys. Shouldn't you buy shares instead of products? Again, if you don't know what to invest, that's the first thing you need to invest in. You need to understand how all of these things work. I invest in shares, crypto, real estate, businesses, and I invest most in courses, seminars, knowledge. Like I think I shared my interview with one guy with some of you. That 10-minute interview cost me $1,000 and I paid it. My property strategist takes $5,000 just to sit down, and I paid every time because he makes me a lot of money. How does good debt and bad debt work? All right, let's first, so we have a question about cash flow. What is cash flow? Fundamental rule of investment is you need to understand two categories, and that's something that we're going to read in the book. You have assets, right? And then you have what? Those who read the book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, already know. We have liabilities. How do you understand assets? Anything that makes money or adds value or puts money in your pocket is an asset. Anything that takes money is liabilities. So if I buy an investment property, is it an asset or a liability, or both? If you buy an investment property, the house and the land that it stands on is your asset, right? Let's say you buy a house that is worth $500,000. But because I'm looking to maximize what? I don't want to lose money and I want to maximize my return on investment. What I do is when I buy a house, you usually put about 10% down, so about 50K of your own money. The rest you borrow from the bank, right? So now look at the situation. You have an asset, the house, that is worth 500K. That is something that is going to appreciate over time, which means the price is going to increase. And as we mentioned earlier, in Australia it increases on average. Thank you for the gifts, guys. On average it grows at 5 to 7%, right? And then I put 50K of my own money and 450K I borrow from the bank. So the 450K that I borrow from the bank is a liability. Why? Because I pay interest on it, right? 50K is my down payment. It was my liquid asset, which means it was my money, and I put it into the property. So this is my asset, and this is my asset, and this is my liability. Now what about cash flow? So these assets and liabilities, we call, in the investment world, we call it, let me put it in black, this is the balance sheet. Which means you take all of your assets on one side, you put all of your liabilities on the other side. So for example, if you have a car, let's say you have a Tesla, obviously it's going to be a Tesla, which is worth, let's say 50K, and from the bank you borrow car loan, which is also 50K, which means you didn't put any money down. And now your car, I'm putting it here as an asset because that's something that has value. Yes, I would like to hear a joke. And the car loan is liability. Why? Because Tesla is what the bank can take from me if I cannot pay my loan. Same goes for the house. This is my asset. This is the finance. So to answer your question about good debt and bad debt, buying a car with a car loan is actually bad debt. Why? Because is Tesla really an asset? How much percentage of a company would I need to own to influence decisions? Well, if you put it that way, regardless of how much percentage you have, you can influence decisions, but only by the percentage that you have. So the Tesla had a shareholder vote recently. So I had shares and I voted. So yes, Ali, very good. Tesla as a car, and I mean any car, is not really an asset because it depreciates over time. Whereas your house, it appreciates over time. So technically you would put this here as well. All right, and that's exactly what Rich Dad Poor Dad is teaching. But for this example, from the accounting perspective, we can look at it this way. Anyway, so what's a good debt? Good debt is when you have assets that offset your liabilities. So if your assets value is higher than your liability and the rate at which it grows, because we know that the house is growing at 5 to 7%, is higher than your interest rate, that's a good debt. That's what we call, let me put it in black rather. So this is what we call good debt. Because you have an asset that is growing at 5 to 7%, and you have liabilities. Thank you, Zafar, for the gifts. Because profits, why did the man bring a letter to the meeting? Because profits were through the roof. Yes. So you have an asset that grows at 5 to 7% and you have liabilities for 150, even if the interest rate is technically higher than 5 to 7%, like even if interest rate is 8%, you still have a good debt because your asset will always outperform your liabilities. So this makes it a good debt. Whereas if you have a car loan, so let's say you bought a 50K, I'm not even gonna say Tesla, I'm just gonna say car. Otherwise you're gonna say that I'm a Tesla fan, which I am. So you buy a car which is 50K worth and you get a car loan which is 50K worth. And I don't know why it all got messed up. So what happens the next year? In fact, the moment that you drive out of your dealership, the car is now worth what? Probably 40K, right? I think they say it loses 15%, 10 to 15% the moment you drive the car out the lot. But your loan is still 50K. And then the next year, your car drops to 30K. And obviously you have your repayments, but the loan is probably down to 45 or 40, let's say, right? So if your loan is outperforming your asset, then this becomes bad debt. So good debt basically means that at any given time, if I sell the house, I can easily repay the loan and it makes it a good debt. But in this case, God forbid, if you have an accident or something else, your car will lose value, and even if you sell the car, you still owe money. And obviously any type of consumer debt is also bad debt. So if you buy a TV and you get a $5,000 loan on a TV, that's good bad debt. With the good debt, yes, you can use it to get around taxes. But guys, these questions are not really for you at the moment, not really for your age. How do you vote as a shareholder? They have proxy companies that take your vote. They verify the number of shares you have and you vote. Chris said, shouldn't you buy shares instead of products? Yes, very good point. Thank you, Shubar. Yes, think of it this way. So every year we have a next iPhone coming out. And I'm sure there's plenty of websites that you have seen. Let's say you buy an iPhone which is worth $2,000, right? What happens with your iPhone next year? Next year it's down to $1,500. If instead you bought $2,000 worth of Apple shares, and let's look at what Apple shares are like. Sorry. See, by default I have Tesla stock. Where's my Apple? There we go, Apple. So $272 is at the moment. Last year though, it was $225. So if I bought Apple shares for $250, let's say I bought $2,250 worth of shares, which is exactly 10 shares. By this year, by today, it would become 2,720. Obviously not K anymore. So yes, it is better to buy shares than to buy products. But obviously, don't you buy shares once a new phone comes out? That's a topic for another day. Let's leave the shares to another day. I just want to finish one important point, and we are already over time. One secret that I was actually gonna start from that secret. Where is that secret? This. So, where to invest first? We said you should first invest in your mindset. And now, what is a mindset? Where is my favorite quote? I had it. Let me open it up here on the computer. Oh, I lost it. Oh, yeah. So we talked a lot about education in the beginning, right? And we said you need to invest in education. So with education, you get what? You get knowledge, you said. And this is something that I think I only discussed with year 10s. So if we have other people, I think it would be useful here. So I'm sure many of you heard this phrase. Knowledge is power. Do we agree? Yes or no? Yes, Spark Gaming saw it on Instagram that if you buy shares, it goes up. If you buy products, it goes down. What about gold? We can discuss those on a different date. Can you do differentiation? What browser or app do you use to invest? Could a mindset be a goal? Yes, it should be absolutely a goal. Mindset is your goal. Where do you invest through? Like what platform? Hypothetical statement. Yeah, Chris, please come on. I forgot. Yes, we actually discussed it with your nines as well, literally yesterday. So, knowledge is power, yes or no? Yes, Sorda says. Faza. Spark Gaming says yes. Ala says yes. All questions about platforms, shares, and all that stuff we can discuss probably next week. You get academic knowledge, says Chris. It's a hypothetical statement. And Shubar says, yes, knowledge is power. So if education gives you knowledge and knowledge is power, that means the more you're educated, then more powerful you are, right? Because if we say this means knowledge is equal power, then when knowledge goes up, automatically your power goes up. So what are the most knowledgeable? When is the next stream? Actually, it's up to you, because so far I've only been doing gaming streams, and that's how most of you are here. I think we can do gaming streams during the week, 6 to 7 p.m. I have time anyway, because I take my kids to taekwondo and I have 1 hour. But this type of educational sessions, I think we can do once or maybe twice a week on weekends. Because for this, I'd like to have my office and setup, unless I can get a mobile studio. Yes, I do want to make one of these streams every single week. That's why some questions I will leave for next week, like cash flow is a bit different game. We understood the balance sheet and I took note of cash flow for next week. And all right, so most knowledgeable people are the most powerful people, right? If knowledge is power. So which means Wikipedia, universities, or even schools would be very powerful, because they are knowledge is literally like all what they're about. Knowledge and education would be most powerful. Chris obviously knows the answer, but let's ask Spark Gaming, my new fan, and thank you for all the gifts, by the way. Spark Gaming, is knowledge power? Yes or no? Yes, Chris, you were listening. See what happens when you stop playing games in class. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to make you feel bad. Abazoid, set up good cam. Yes, I'm just using my laptop cam. So, all right. Knowledge is potential power. I'm just gonna cut it shorter because we're running out of time. Knowledge is potential power. So the more you know, the more your potential increases. But what actually gives you power is when you apply that knowledge. So, and that we call execution. And what does it take to execute? So you've learned, for example, about investment today, and you've learned that you need to educate yourselves. You need to get knowledge. So which means I hope you understand that, yes, you will need to read books, listen to podcasts, join these live streams, and learn about investment, about money, about how economy works. So what would those things require? Those things will require some commitment, right? Time, basically all of the things that we, where did we put them? Here. So it will require time, it will require determination, right? And you get your knowledge. And we said execution is important. And to all of these things, I like to call them, all of them together, I like to call mindset. That's how I like to define mindset. If you can find a better definition of mindset, let me know. But mindset is that commitment. It's that certain way of thinking. And here's another phrase for you, Chris. Yes, dedication. Being true to yourself. Oh my God, yes, I love it. And obviously you got it from from the Discord server. Nice. Yes, we do have a Discord server that I am not opening to everyone just yet. And that's exactly the reason why. I want only people of certain mindset on that Discord server. And I'm still trying to locate that page that I had with Said. Was it in your class, I think, or Yusuf's class? I actually had a photo with you guys on there. The phrase that we put up on the board. Ah, Chris, I actually sent you that sticky note as well. Yes, there we go. Now, this is the most important phrase that I want to leave you with, and that will be the end of our live stream because it's 10 p.m. and everyone needs to go to sleep. But this is the phrase that we're gonna start our next live stream with. How to join Discord. On my TikTok profile, there is a link that says interested. So if you put your details on there, I will send you more information about how to join the Discord server. So, mindset. If you read the Rich Dad Poor Dad, and I think we'll start reading it next week on live streams, it talks about rich mindset versus poor mindset. And the book talks a lot about how rich people think and poor people think, how rich people look after their money, how poor people spend their money. And I believe that even if you give a poor person a lot of money, they will just spend it. Even if you give them a lot of knowledge, they will not use it. So it takes this different type of mindset. And here's the magic phrase that I want to leave you with. The only way for poor people, and my handwriting is really poor, for poor people to acquire the rich mindset is what? Sorry, I messed it up. The only way for poor people to become rich is to acquire the rich mindset. Yes, Allah, you did read the book very well. The rich buy assets, and middle class buy liabilities thinking they are assets. Yes, yes, yes. So, the only way for poor people to become rich is to acquire the rich mindset. But then how do you acquire the rich mindset? Let me use another color. And the only way for that is proximity. Now, what is proximity? Invest in yourself. Proximity is how close you are to something. And that's what I have heard from many successful people, that to be around these successful people, to be in close proximity to them, is how you acquire that success mindset. That's why I call this session Clues to Success, because success leaves clues. If you follow, and yeah, I mean, I'm not just saying this to sound cool. This is the book that I've read actually a long time ago. I don't even remember when was it published. In 2010, I think, or 12. But I read it. It's a very thick book. And even here, as you can see, I've got books. This book, Multipliers. And I have another book right here on my table, which is Key Person of Influence. So I read a lot. And that's how you get the knowledge. But knowledge, and this is the important bit here, knowledge by itself is not enough. We already saw that, right? Because we think knowledge is power, but knowledge is just potential power. Knowledge is not enough, because if knowledge was enough, all of these get rich quick schemes, courses, seminars, where, you know, all these trading courses and whatnot, everyone would be rich the moment they take the course. Knowledge is not enough. Some people think, oh, Hocam, but I don't have money. But I think money is also not enough. Why? Because if all it took was money, then all the people who win lotteries, they would automatically and magically become rich. But no, oftentimes they get to even worse situations. Why? Because they get the money, they get millions, but they spend it, they lose it the same way they lost their initial money. Like, I was not born to a millionaire family. I was not born with a trust fund of money that I could spend. And to be going back to your question of how I bought my first investment property, I was literally driving Uber Eats back in 2020, when I was buying my first investment property. And to put the down payment, I had to sell my car. So I sold my car for $20,000. I put $15,000 in my first investment property. And to be able to even afford finance, I was delivering food, Uber Eats. So it's not about money, it's not about knowledge. It's about having this mindset here. And to acquire that mindset, you need proximity, which means you need to have people around yourself that have different understanding of money, different understanding of business, different understanding of finance, investment. Most people don't have it. That's why most people are poor. And in one of the student chats, they told me, sir, you're talking down on us. That's not the point. Someone here, I think it was Allah, he said that you need to be true to yourself. And sometimes truth hurts, but you need to be true to yourself and you need to be honest with yourself. If we were all successful and rich people, we wouldn't be sitting here today, right? We would be hanging out somewhere on a private plane, all right? Going to a holiday on the Gold Coast at least, or something like that. So we are here because we want to achieve something more than we have at the moment, and that's okay. One of my TikTok videos, I think, I hope I shared it on the profile. I think it was Gary V, I'm not sure. He said that being poor or being born poor is not your fault. It's literally like, you can't blame yourself, you can't blame anyone for being born the way they are. But if you die poor, that's on you. So that's the whole purpose of doing these live streams. That's the whole purpose of me going back to school and education, because I have personally struggled throughout my life to get to where I am today. And I'm glad and thankful to every person that I've met along the way. I'm happy for everything that happened in my life along the way. And I would like to make it easier for you guys. So that's the reason for me doing these live streams. Getting knowledge about something is absolutely advantageous, but finding the right person, knowing the right person, having the right guide, having the right mentorship can save you years. All these questions about, for example, which platform, which stock, which type of investment, I have all the answers, but you need to understand that it's not about, I'll give you the answer and you just run off and make your first million. Acquiring this mindset takes time. It took me a long time, and literally, like you said, when was my first investment? My first investment when I was in literally your age. Oh, Vedat, thank you for joining the fan club, and you become the number 13. Nice. We had 10 fans yesterday, now we have 13. Thank you for all the gifts, guys. Have you been to Hajj before? Yes. Someone saw this photo here. I've only been to Umrah last year, and I haven't been to Hajj. And actually, when I went to Umrah, I made myself a promise that I was lucky to go to Umrah with a whole group of students. We had like 28 students from Amity College. And it was an amazing experience. And I was so glad that I did it with students and not by myself, because it's a different type of experience. I always say, learn one, do one, teach one. And I think being there to be able to support and explain this experience to our students have helped me to better understand and appreciate the whole thing. So if I go to Hajj, I would like to go with a group of people that I know, that I understand, and that understand me. And that's another one of my TikTok videos, that it's one thing to know people and it's completely different thing to understand people. And what I'm trying to do is to understand you guys better. Literally, like, the reason that I'm playing Clash with you is to understand you better. Like, I did not understand the point of Clash until I started playing. And I actually yesterday saw one of my students really opened up, because he is so passionate about Clash Royale, and I like it. You want us to have the mindset and understand things so we don't do too much. It's not about doing too much. It's just, it makes it so much easier. Like, let me explain it to you this way. You guys, most of you like soccer, right? So what do you do if you want to play soccer professionally? What do you do? Do you read books about soccer, or, like, watch YouTube videos and just start playing in your own backyard? You train, practice soccer drills, but who do you reach out to if you want to do it seriously? You go and find a club, you go and find a coach. If you have money, if you are serious, if you have like real talent, then your parents will pay for your training. Yes, if you want to go pro, you must do all the things. So your parents will support you, hopefully, and you will go and join a club. And if you're really good, then the clubs start fighting for you, right? They start offering you scholarships, they want you in their teams. So that's how you go pro football player. So what if you want to be a pro investment specialist? What if you want to do investment professionally? What do you do? Where do you go? Who do you reach out to? And like, especially most of you are like 12, 13, 15, 16 years old. You can't even, like, some of you can't even open a bank account, right? One of my students last semester, he wanted to make a cool project, and he started a Kickstarter page. He had thousands of people interested, and he had people who wanted to donate him money, but he didn't have a bank account, so he couldn't even, collect money from those people who were willing to pay him. Yes, Allah, very good point. You find someone who has already done what you want to do. Surround yourself with the people with the same mindset. Good point, Chris. Yes. So that's exactly what I'm trying to do here. That's where's my, how do I stop streaming for a while? Actually, let me find it here and I'll send it. Just wanted to show you. Oops. I hope I didn't close the stream. So this is what I'm trying to establish. I'm looking for people who are driven, who are creative, who have initiative and loyalty, and I want to bring us all together so that we can go to next level. And then I don't know why it did not open up straight away, but actually I think I can do this to make it easier for us. Just bear with me a second. How will you see if they are loyal? Good question. Good question. That's exactly the question that I'm struggling with right now. If you can suggest me ways, I'd be happy to know. At this point, I don't know any other way than to just trust people or have some kind of assessments, I guess. Because yes, I do want to only have people who have the loyalty, who have the commitment, who have the passion, who have the will to do more than others. And where's my, there we go. All right. How do I make it bigger? There we go. So I can add them here. And then another picture is loading, I guess. Are you still going to launch the Loom campaign you were talking about? Yes, that's literally the picture that I'm waiting to get loaded. It's taking a while. There we go. So the reason our clan is called Loom and the reason why our server is called Loom is because of this, because this is the plan that I came up with, I think, last year, and I have been building on it since. You understand them and they understand you. Loyalty. Yes, I like that plan, Chris. You understand them properly. Maybe you can give them challenges and see if they will do it. Yes, that's exactly what I'm thinking. Yes. But basically, the way I see it, the more you get to spend time with people, the better you understand them. And I mean, we have examples from the Hadith, right? They say that if you do business with people, if you travel with people, and I keep forgetting the third one, you get to know people. So yes, this is my plan for all of my Loom ventures. The Loom Foundation up top here, and I hope you can see, let me zoom in a little bit. The Loom Foundation is the non-profit, where that's the whole purpose of having this Loom Foundation, is to give the next generation a chance at a different life, not just the life of modern tax slavery where you study 20 something years to get a profession and then you spend the remaining 40 years working the same job. That's the Loom Foundation. And in fact, today we were talking with Ali and Ziyad, I think, about the upcoming social media ban. There is a petition at the moment going about reducing the age to 13 years of that social media ban, or at least to reduce or even to cancel. But I think one of the things that Loom Foundation is going to be advocating for is against the social media ban, or at least make allowance for certain companies to, or education organizations like schools or universities or Loom, to allow kids to use social media, because I think that's where we can learn and grow and communicate with each other. And I actually seen again that it has a very good influence on the mental well-being of students. Loom Integra is the tech advisory and systems design. This is where we're going to be, like, since my background is software engineering, I do want to design platforms, but what I'm launching right now is Loomwise, meaningful mastery together, learning that fits your goals. So that's why I'm building this group of young people who are driven, who are creative, who are who have enthusiasm and initiative to do things differently, to try different things, to take risks. Because when, if not now, the best time to take risks is before you're 20, before you're 25. And I want to prove to the world that even high school students aged 13 to 18, or first university students aged up to 25 can do great things. And that's what we're doing in STEM, right? Loom Insight is the online AI-driven coaching platform that helps you discover your personality, reflect on it and grow on it. That's still in development. Loom Drive the future today, sustainable mobility for everyone. That's an interesting project that some of you might be interested in. Loom Drive was originally, like, I had an electric car rental business back in Sydney, which I didn't do in Adelaide, but I was renting electric cars to people. But now I want to expand, and Loom Drive is going to be a driving school for high school students. And from there, the students that we teach, we will give them car sharing. So exactly, Chris, like you say, the students that we trust, the students that have been through our driving school, they will be able to rent cars from us. And the problem there is, most of you, when you get your license, when you're 16, 17, 18, the banks will not give you finance. Insurance companies will kill you with insurance excess prices and whatnot. So I want to give the students that I trust the ability to drive amazing cars, Teslas. And that's the Loom Drive project. Loom Biz is about business and networking with influential people, with business owners, and I want to make it available to high school students. And Loom Invest about investment. So Loom Invest, as you can see, is on the bottom here. Why is it on the bottom? Because Loom Foundation is at the top. That's about the idea and the mindset. And then we have Loom Integra, was my initial IT company, which I registered. It's currently registered. And that's the digital agency that will feed the other projects. But Loomwise is the project that I'm launching right now. Loom Integra is an existing business. Loomwise is what I'm launching right now to give you guys space to grow and learn together. So meaningful mastery together. I want you to master what money is, what economy is, what investment is, how this all works. Loom Insight is something that we will develop as we go. Loom Drive is probably going to be launched in the coming months. And then from there, I want us to have our own businesses. And when you have money to invest, when you have a business that you're making you money, then you start thinking about investing in shares, real estate, crypto, other businesses. But I think we should follow this path from the foundation to Loomwise, Loom Drive, having our own businesses, and then we invest. Wow, 41,000 likes. Thank you very much, guys. I think it's way too late, but yes, I apologize if I kept you up, but that's why I want to do this on weekends only, because right now I don't have any specific plan, so it's pretty much what you guys ask. I will just keep answering questions. And isn't the school night? Yes, that's exactly why I want to do it on Saturdays. And actually, I probably won't do it on Sundays if that's okay with you. I want to do it on Saturday nights so that we have time. And let me know if the time works for you. If we need to do it at a different time, let me know. And yeah, if you like the idea of having reading sessions at 8 p.m., let me know. I'd be happy to read books together. Alrighty, thanks everyone. This was an amazing session. I really enjoyed it, and I apologize for not having the slides ready for you, but I think at this point, this is how we're gonna go. I'm just gonna write down whatever we talk about, and then hopefully maybe one of you will convert it into slides. And by the way, if I have year 9 students here on the live stream, I need to prepare a presentation for the next year elective, so I would appreciate if you guys can help me with that, because next week, week 6, we're having the electives presentation for year 8s, and I would appreciate if I could have 1 or 2 year 9 students with me who have been through my entrepreneurship elective, and if you can share your views with the current year 8s, that would really help me a lot. Again, going back to the value, I hope that for you it's just going to be like, I don't know, half an hour to maybe 1 hour of your time, but for me it would be amazing value, because it will help me better explain to year 8s what is it that we're trying to do. So thank you very much, and I will schedule the next Saturday. Let me know what time works best. Thank you, Ali. What was good? It was good to have you here. Thanks, all of you guys. We have how many viewers we have? I don't even see the statistics. Anyways, that doesn't matter. All that matters is you guys stuck around, and we had an amazing time. Thank you. See ya. Good night.